Hey everyone, welcome to the patch 4.0 jungle tier list. In here, I will rank all of the viable junglers from the least effective up until the most effective ones. Just a note, if a jungler is ranked lower, it does not mean that it's bad. Junglers who mean that certain champion can obviously make it look OP or get it to a higher tier. Some junglers are also stronger based on rank. This list is for junglers in general looking for what champion is the most effective right now. And without further ado, let's get into it. Starting from the lowest, which is a D tier, we have Nasus and Malphite. These two champions are viable junglers, especially Nasus, who was used recently once in pro play, but it's very hard to win when using them in the jungle. The reason why they are in D tier is because they have a slow clear, teammate reliant, and don't apply any pressure in the early game. Even though they are relatively easy to use, there are so much other champion options that can be used aside from these two. Next would be the C tier. In here, these are the types of champions that have potential carry in the game but would need a strong early game to do so. Examples of this would be Jax, Tryndamere, Fizz, and Kayle. Tryndamere has the potential to become A tier in the lower ranks, but when you get to the higher ranks, it will be much harder to pull him off. This tier would also contain some tanks, and the reason why they are here is because they have slow clears and the tanks in the higher tiers can do a better job than them. An exception for this would be Mundo, who can possibly go for the A tier due to the recent buffs, but it's still very hard to pull him off because of all of the anti-healing the opponents can get. Then we go to the B tier. This is where majority of the viable junglers are located. All of the champions in this tier can become either stronger or weaker depending on the team composition. People who one-trick a champion in this tier have the potential to make it A or even S as well. The tank junglers in this tier like Shen, Nunu, Rammus, and Amumu all have decent clears and can be OP when used correctly. The reason why they are here is because they are team reliant and can't damage and tank at the same time. On the other hand, the bruisers here like Kayn, Diana, Xin Zhao, Warwick, Wukong, Riven, Jarvan, Morgana, and Darius can both DPS and tank at the same time. These are the more flexible champions which can fit into any team composition because of their versatility. The only reason they are ranked here is because they don't have any OP abilities and a strong late game with the exception of Kayn and Diana, since these two can scale up and become late game carries as well. Then the last type of junglers in this tier are the pure DPS and assassin champions. This consists of Fiora, Evelynn, Graves, Echo, Jace, Master Yi, Zed, Pantheon, Camille, Gragas, and Irelia. These champions can easily carry a game if given a strong early game, but are very weak when put behind, which puts them in this tier. My personal favorites here are Fiora, Shen, Kayn, and Eve, who all have strong potential to carry and be placed to a higher tier if used correctly. After this would be the A tier. Junglers that you see in this tier are strong and are usually the ones that you see carrying your games. Yone, Gwen, and Shyvana fill the same role of needing to farm in order to become monster late game carries. These are currently the strongest late game jungle carries that can 1v9 when they are fed or reach the late game. The reason why they are placed here and not in the S tier is because of their weak early game in which they are reliant on their teammates to step up or not to die in lane. Kha'Zix is a champion that has been demoted from S tier not only because of the recent nerfs, but due to the fact that the current S tier champions outclasses him because of their versatility. Kha'Zix is definitely still a strong pick and can easily carry games as well. Vi is another champion that has been demoted in this tier because even though she is the most flexible champion, she falls off pretty hard late game as compared to her peers. I have personally lost a lot of games with her even if I carry the early to mid game due to one throw and then get outscaled in the late game. Don't get me wrong, she is still a very strong champion, especially if you have a teammate that you can trust in the late game. Olaf is very similar to Vi, where he is very strong in the early game and when given a lead, can get an instant win. The only issue with Olaf is that he falls off pretty hard when not getting ahead or when arriving to the late game. That is why Olaf needs to be used in the proper conditions, since he can pretty much easily snowball games to a win. In the end, all of these champions can also become S tier depending on the situation. Then the last would be the S tier. In here, these are the best junglers to use when climbing in my opinion. The reason why is because they are strong in almost all phases of the game. Their clears are fast and flexible, which means that they can also be picked in almost any situation. The first in this list is Lee Sin, who is the longest reigning S-tier champion who is always a force to be reckoned with. Possibly one of the most annoying early game junglers to play against because he is someone who can basically do anything that he wants. He might be the weakest late game carry in this tier, but even then, he still would be able to make those game-winning plays. The only real difficulty is knowing how to utilize his potential. The second would be Aatrox. This is the most versatile champion in this tier because of the fact that he would be able to tank and carry at the same time. His clear is quite fast and is very strong throughout all the phases of the game. In a fight, he just needs to get one reset and he would be able to carry the team. The only thing about him is that you need to practice hitting the sweet spot and to make use of his cancel animations. The third champion in this tier is Lilia. She may have the weakest early game in this tier, but once we get to the late game, she is the strongest out of the four. Even with a weak early game, her clears are still decent and also have the potential to go for ganks, unlike Yone, Gwen, and Shyvana, who usually have a hard time ganking a lane. Once we get to the late game, this is where she could truly shine since she moves fast, has a strong burst, good sustain, annoying crowd control, and a high DPS as well, allowing her to carry team fights when positioned correctly. The last and latest addition to this tier is Rengar. The reason why he has been promoted in this tier is because he is the strongest and most flexible assassin right now. Even though he is building pure damage, he can also become tanky as well with the use of the second skill, and when used correctly, he can possibly have 3 lives in a team fight. I personally made a mistake of maxing the third skill after the first, but when I changed it to maxing skill 2 after skill 1, it changed the way I play the champion. With the use of the empowered skill, he is able to burst, tank, or CC depending on the situation. Rengar also has the best catch potential because of his ult and can also be used as a map hack when used correctly. For these reasons, Rengar has now been placed in this tier. This is my personal jungle tier list as of patch 4.0. If you have any questions, reactions, or suggestions, feel free to comment down below. I would also be happy to explain if there are things that I have missed. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to at least leave a like and subscribe for more content. That is it for today, and thanks for watching. Peace out. Ciao, ciao. I'm finally facing it all, fearless.